As I could say, it's the Trinidadian way. From the time the carnival reaches pace again, we whine again, we never going and change. Cause nobody.
Tragedy struck as the body of Tara Lochan Singh was found by the Coast Guard. Lochan Singh, 46, of Rio Claro, and her 4-year-old granddaughter were swept away by strong currents at Mathura River on Friday. The woman managed to push her granddaughter onto the riverbank where the child was found by a relative.
Good evening, TNT family. Welcome back to Yellow is the Cool program on UNC USA. Thank you for joining us. We have Mr. Suman Singh, and as usual, my other friends will join us later in the program. So we saw that they recovered the body finally for Miss Tara Lochan Singh. We would have preferred more effective response when the incident happened that we could have saved her life. But looking at the condition of the area, it is very concerning how that place was left and neglected by the PNM government. We do have a lot of work to do and to kind of bring Trinidad into a safe place for all our people. Welcome, Mr. Singh.
How you going, Gary? Welcome to the listeners and viewers on our platform. Good to have you. Yes, this is a very sad situation. 2 people in 1 week, just lost their lives innocently.
Well, we have another incident in Tobago where a lady went off the cliff with her car. They were, some car bar drive them, and they ended up, into a 30 feet ditch. And again, our response, we are not organized to respond very effectively. And when your brain is lacking oxygen, I mean, every second counts here. So I mean, we need to organize ourselves as we've been preaching on this program, and we can get a sit down with our MPs and councillors, local government, and Homeland Security and Ministry of Health and the various ministries, and we could get a somewhat of a community resilience program going where we have an all-inclusive program prepping our local communities to respond before the fire service could even get there. We need to have the people within that vicinity of the incident capable to respond and train, educated to do so. We are uneducated people. We just need some organization and a little structure, in improving the response. I mean, every second counts when somebody's life is in danger. And, I'm really pushing for this agenda that we can get this off the ground. But go ahead, Mr. Singh.
Yeah, this is quite unfortunate, man. I mean, it shows that we have to build out structures and policies and watch groups and community involvement and a whole new networking of people to care for the communities, police the communities, and work towards the betterment of their own communities. And we have to do this as early as possible. As you know, we've been saying this since a couple of months now. I guess when the time comes, then the authorities will or may take action, but the time has passed because, I mean, 2 lives, innocent lives, have been taken away. And, the lives are one thing, the suffering for the rest of the family is what goes on. The trauma experience when a member of the family is lost, it's not only one person, but the whole family or families are involved in that mourning. So it's a sad situation, and it clearly shows that there is great need or urgent need to get the community involved in this resilience effort, especially communities that see weekend traffic or holiday week traffic, or just the school vacation time when people want to take their families and so on.
Okay, hold up
And
a second, there, Mr. Singh. We got Rodney Stowe, our Laventille West representative. He's down at the Panyard. There's some kind of event taking place. Rod, can you tell us what's happening?
Well, we have the street festival going on in the Laventille Main Road. This is the 23rd edition of it. This year we have 22 bands playing, and right now we reach about number 7 or 8. So till morning we're going here.
what's it turn out like?
Well, as you can see, you ain't have room for me.
None for us as well.
Yeah, it's very well attended.
Nice, nice.
And this year they change the route. Usually we go up. This year we come down, and so it's pretty interesting this year.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time we warmly welcome Tokyo Steel Orchestra.
Rod, we would like to cover kind of bit of the event. So if you could keep the camera on, narrate what's happening there. If you have somebody else you could share the link with. Also,
Mr. Kana is supposed to be here. So I'll talk to him in a little bit, and I'll see if he will join you soon.
Yeah, pass the link on. Pass the link to him. I don't have his number, but we want to be able to cover the event there.
Well, maybe I'll call back and let him speak to you.
All right. Okay, yeah. Let's send him the link. Yeah, ask him to join the link.
All right, well, I'll send him the link.
If you have Indra or anybody else there that can help us to broadcast, we want to cover the program.
All right, no problem.
All right, thank you, Rod.
Nice one.
Carnival
Okay.
time. Festival and carnival time.
Go ahead, Mr. Singh.
Yeah, I was saying that systems and structures and community involvement has to be part of these structure for this resiliency. Because I'll tell you what, people can't afford so much.
All right, so Rod is giving us a little view there.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rod. Thank you for giving us that show there. So anybody else can join us and show us what's happening. We want to cover the event.
That sounds like my band from Down Superior, man. What's up going on?
Yeah, that was Rodney Stowe down in Laventille down there covering in the pan event that's taking place there. Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Singh. They will join us back later on.
Okay, yes, I was saying, Gary, that in these times where a lot of families are cash strapped and school is on vacation and so on, they need to take the kids out. It's normal when kids get holidays, they go sightseeing and go with friends, families, and so on. A lot of them cannot afford to go out far from Trinidad and Tobago, given the scenarios of foreign exchange and so the limitations of getting foreign exchange. So you have no choice but to stay what is branded a staycation,
Well,
So-
the thing about it, Mr. Singh, I was very happy in Trinidad and Tobago. I did not care much as a kid. I mean, I had enough things there that I felt, contented with, in Trinidad, with my vacation or whatever I had to do. I did not care much fun outside country growing up in Trinidad. That's for me,
Yeah, but
and I would like to see us organize our country to accommodate our children, to put things in place, not people just grabbing and hoarding the treasury and the money not, being properly utilized to upgrade the country and stuff like that. But go ahead.
Yes, you're quite right. The money is funneled only for a certain class of people, you know, but the benefits of doing something like this, where you get the community involvement in the whole process, they have to be involved from the planning stage, from uh, getting buy-in, what they call, of, you know, to upgrade their own communities and so on. As somebody's trying to get on. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, no, you go ahead. I'm just checking some message. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So they need to organize, get buy-in, they have a clear plan on what they like to do. Given the scenarios as I just mentioned, that a lot of people have to end up staying at home for vacation. And you know, Trinidad has a fair amount of places you can visit as a you know, as a teenager, school people on vacation from the school and so on. Parents and relatives can take the kids around and look at the various attractions and parks and, you know, rivers and so on and what have you. But as we saw for the past week, there was a robbery in Cora at 8 o'clock in the morning. And that is one of the most frequented, you know, little park and recreation area where a lot of people just go and have a good time, lime, cook out and so on. Family time, friends time, you know. And when these security is lacking, I mean, check now on 8:30 in the morning is now setting up your pots and all what tent, the music and everything, and you're taken out by, you know, a robbery at that time. It sours the whole environment for your friends and family and so on who, you know, wish to go on a little vacation in Trinidad, and you're still scared of going there, given the incident that happened this week, you know.
A lot of us are conducting ourselves, even though we see crime happening to other people, we are not. So you know, we are not still conducting ourselves like in restraint. And some or may not. But there are people out there who go 5, 6 o'clock in the morning just to grab a spot and start to clear up the
Yes,
place. But you know, looking at the condition, I tell you, that place and the amount of bamboo debris they had to move to even find this lady. And you know, I would have liked to see some equipment and resources getting there more swiftly than we have seen. I mean, the Coast Guard came, but at what stage? I mean, the fire service came, but how quickly was the response? What kind of equipment? Because we see people there moving the bamboo by hand. I mean, couldn't we have gotten some better help in securing the area, in putting resources on the river so that we could have moved a little more swiftly? Look how many hours them guys spend the night there.
but you see, this is what I was saying. I mean, when the community gets involved with something and they know it's a holiday weekend and they know that there will be a lot of visitors from, you know, far countryside and so on visiting that area. I mean, start to clean up the area in anticipation of a crowd, because, as I said, the community benefits too. People must buy and stop and buy something, you know, on the way to or from, when they leave and get something again. And it's local tourism, right? It's local tourism. So someone from Point Fortin going to that's an outing. You know, you go to have a good time, a whole new environment, and it's a lot of sightseeing on the way and what have you. And
Well, fortunately, we have Mr. Wayne Alonzo joining us here tonight.
Hello,
Thank you,
guys.
brother, for taking the
Aye,
time.
aye.
Yes, yes. Good to meet you all.
We were just talking about the incident at Muturo River, you know, and the loss of life. And I was just emphasizing the point that, you know, these things, you need to have community involvement at an early stage. When people visit your community, you can develop or you can market or you can sell them attractions and actions and activities in your area. But you
Yeah.
need to get people involvement, clean up the place and so on, have it. You can have all this bamboo and all this, you know, tree cuttings and all these things. At least make a nice little pool. Make sure there's some safety measures involved in it, you know, and preserve it.
Well, we have excuse me, guys. We have Dr. Ramrope here, Dr. Stephen Ramrope is on board. Dr. Ramrope, we have our good friend here, Mr. Wayne Alonso from Toko Sandy Grande on board with us here tonight.
Hi, Wayne. Hi,
Good night, guys. Hey. Good.
And I'm the one who
Excuse
will be, Wayne, I'm the one who will be doing your tourism community project for you.
All right, fine. That's
Yeah.
I have it already nailed down, but I'm packing up right now a lot of suitcases to get down to Trinidad. So
okay.
Okay.
Hey, when you come, check me out.
So, and then Dr. Ramrope will be doing your community resilience and disaster planning, you know, and another medical stuff.
yeah, well, if you can digress a little bit and focus on what the project is all about, Gary, we can go ahead and do that.
No. We will talk about these things privately. A lot of this discussion, we're not going to go too much public with that right now. So I want to offer Wayne the opportunity to extend emancipation greetings to our people. You know, if you could take 2 seconds and do that, brother.
Okay. Well, let me wish you guys happy emancipation. It's a moment that one takes time to reflect, you know, his sense of history, his new place of abode, his surroundings, his opportunities. You know, just before I got that message, I was finishing sharing a video that I saw on one of the chats where Mr. William Monroe is speaking true to issues that I'm very good on a day like today. I'm listening to this. I don't know when the video was created, but he's speaking to the fact of the deliberate sidelining of the African community in terms of the kind of, instead of progression, but the regression that we are experiencing today, that in itself is fueling the crime. And he's speaking to his own experiences as one of the early example of wealth and success among our community. To hear from his mouth the nasty, intentional decisions to keep him down, keep him poor, take what he had from him. You know, it's amazing that this is not just something that happened, but it was intentional. It was strategic to make sure that he did not have. And so it speaks volume to where we are today, because, you know, this man has been in business for umpteen years. And you know, the only thing that I could think about is that while it's easy to focus on the depressing side of the story, I always look for that light, that trickling of hope, the positiveness in the darkness of the story. And what I saw is a wonderful opportunity, because I'll tell you, I agreed with everything he said. I have so much of my own stories. I mean, let's look simply at the fact that for the last 10 years, the PNM government, and 10 years plus, but I can only speak to the last 10 years in power, they bring an African leader to this country every year. Large entourage, 3 and 4 nights, women with breasts outside and all the drums and the umbrellas. And we wine and dine these people every year. President of South America, President of Ghana, President of Kenya, this one and that one and the other one. And what have we gotten as a community out of all those visits conducted by our own African leader? What have we gotten? A bag of yam seeds that we have not seen as yet, or who really has them. That's all we got. And here we have an East Indian Prime Minister bringing the leader of her homeland for one day, no cost. And I saw the PNM asking for the cost of the visit. Let them show us their record of cost of those African visits for the last 10 years. And in one day, this man has offered the entire country, African, Indians, and in between, so much opportunities. I have people in my constituency right now begging for limbs. And I was so happy to say, hey, there is hope coming to get a prosthetic. And we have seen that type of sickening behavior. And I put this line during the campaign, why there was this shift of the African vote to the UNC. The African is saying, we came onto our own, but our own receive us not. And to them who receive us, we will give the power of our vote. And so we have been placed in this unenviable position again to have to be begging bread and depending on someone. But the record will show that during 2010 and 2015, the same African who have been disenfranchised by his own stated quite openly that they got more out of that period, 2010 to 2015, than during the years that their own party was in power. And so that in itself is what triggered that movement that, hey, here is a woman who we have hope in, a woman who we believe truly cares. We may not get as much, but we're going to get something out of that. And so the African community has now been placed in a position of dependence. What we have to do as a community is to take the little that we will get and make sure and build on it. Somebody saying something?
No, you go ahead. You go ahead, brother. You go ahead. I'm asking everybody to mute while Mr. Alonso is speaking, please, so they don't interfere with his.
Okay, because I was hearing some static in the background.
Dr. Marchand, check your line because that's how it happened as you came in. So maybe you want to come in and out or mute your mic. So go ahead, Mr. Alonso. Go ahead. You were doing excellent.
Yeah. And I was saying that the African community now is forced to accept its position again, but with a sense of hope that here we have a bunch of citizens, even though we are not of the same ethnicity, but we have a better hope of reliance through. We as a community have to come together and mobilize and to make sure that we take better advantage of this moment in time. But let me tell you the benefit to the UNC party. Let it be on record that they were the ones to liberate the very African people. You want to destroy the PNM? Do that one thing. Make some of them successful. Let them be the shining stars within their little dark spaces and their little communities. Give some bakeries and stop just offering bread to their base. Create some bakeries and little nooks and crannies around this country and let the country know that we knew where they got it, how they got it, and by whom they got it. And it will not be from the PNM. You want to destroy the PNM forever? Let's do that. So while I know that opportunities are coming where there's an economic gains and a number of benefits, we can do the two. We can care, we can build, we can grow while we benefit. And so I trust that the voices that are around this table tonight, if I can be of any support, is to try to keep checking in with that. While we're doing what we're doing and developing business and looking for opportunities, let's take advantage of the resources to build a better nation, understanding that this nation, we are stuck with each other. And the saying goes, the manner in which you treat the least of us, you treat all of us. And so if we want a free nation, if we want a safe nation, let's empower the least among us. Because when they have, they don't focus on what you have. But when you take everything from them, their neighbor become their enemy. And so we have an obligation morally, spiritually, to advance the space that we have been blessed to be, which is Trinidad and Tobago. We have that obligation. We are the ones, they are looking to us. We are the think tankers, we are the academias, we are the professors, we are the financiers, we are the business leaders. We have the resource, we know how to do it. And they are looking to us to make that move. We should be the one to advise on policies of advancing this country. And I trust that this is what this group is being set out to do, to be think tankers for the development, not just physically, the development of people, advancing the quality of life of our citizens, because we have the resource, but it is not equitably distributed as the constitutions offer. The equitable distribution of the resources of the land. And when you look at communities that we're talking about, Toco, one wonders, are we in the same Trinidad that people from Grandy and Arima and Digo Martin and Westmore and down south, they enjoy? They're not. So we have work to do. And I think it's a wonderful constituency to practice that. Because I stated in one of my offerings during the campaign that while country people may not have much, a little becomes a lot. And so we don't ask for much, the people from the countryside. But don't fool us and don't play us, because if you look at Toco Sangre Grande, it has always been a marginal seat. Every time the PNM lost election, Sangre Grande was in the making. Toco Sangre Grande was in the making. So don't take them for granted. They will take and take, but when they had enough, they will shift. And we want to make sure and consolidate this move that happened in this last election. It's got to be deliberate, it's got to be strategic. We got to set up systems in place to consolidate and secure that win, because 5 years cannot be enough to accomplish these objectives. And you see, the PNM believe that this is a 5-year government.
No, we're not going to let that happen. I said that we've all been saying that, that the 5 years is not enough to undo and upgrade the 45 years of damages to the country.
Certainly.
But, right.
Certainly.
And if you have, I have made Toco Sangre Grande one of the highest priority going forward in this election. By liaising with the people there, understanding what their challenges was. So, I mean, we have a lot to talk about. The team is 100% behind you. So, we will talk a lot off the air, but at least you understand how to get online. So anytime I send you a link, it's very easy for you to come and make your statement, highlight any events that's taking place. The channel is here to promote you. But continue, brother. We are all behind you here. This whole team is entirely behind you here.
Well, I think I've made my opening remarks. It was a bit lengthy and.
Well, you have all the time. You don't have to worry about like a time here. This is all open to you, and to our people. And I mean, the channel is here at your disposal. We're going to bring as much as we need to do on it. And also, we have a lot to discuss privately, and then we will come publicly with what we have already put together. So,
okay.
Yes, definitely. I do appreciate you. How you enjoying yourself over there? I think you went over.
Well, as you see, I'm dressed for the space, right? Yeah, it's relaxing, man. I need Tobago. Tobago, we are so blessed to have this little island as one. A space that people spend a lot of money.
Yeah, Suman will be joining.
Yeah.
In Tobago. He has a house out there.
Wonderful.
But
where are you in Tobago right now?
I'm in Canoe Bay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I,
Right.
my place is 5 minutes from there.
Yeah.
The
Good.
Calibre
Where you on the other side, Chauvin?
on his side, lowland by the cheese sec.
Okay. 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 Going to Lambo.
Yeah, by lowland properly where the cheese sec lives.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Yeah, you're right
Just,
around the corner.
yeah,
Right up the road.
opposite the Hilton
Yep.
entrance on the other side where the karaoke bar is.
Okay. I can't
Yeah.
say that I know that bar. I've never been there late at night, but I know the neighborhood.
Okay.
I know the neighborhood. If you say the Chief Sex home, right around the corner, opposite the mall. Yep.
Correct.
So I don't know, guys. I mean, I would love to get a response, because I think, like I said, I have carved out what I think and feel, um, where we ought to be going. I don't know everything. As a matter of fact, I want to consider myself a student of this team, because there's a lot for me to learn. It's a first for me. I've never been in public life, as it were. I've had my few successes in more social services, and a few small businesses of my own. But I've never been in public life. I don't understand a lot of things, how things work in a lot of cases. I'm very open to say that. What I bring to the table is a sense of visioning, um, purpose, and good outcomes. I'm very strategic in the way I think and approach things. I'm very team. Like I said, I will do more listening and learning, but I trust that at least my contributions would be added to the overall um, objectives to achieve the outcome that we all hopefully will want to make up ourselves a better place. So I would like to hear from you all, your thoughts on how you see this team advancing, whatever we set out to do.
Right, right. So we'll do a lot of it privately before we go publicly on a lot of things. But definitely, we are on board. I mean, from the time you and I started talking, I know we were on the same page. It's like God made a divine connection here, because we were thinking along the same line what we want to see for your constituency there. And we have a prime minister, definitely her heart and mind is where we are thinking alike. It's like Roger Alexander said, he listened to different leaders, and he aligned himself with those that how he say he got on board with those he can align himself with the thoughts and the thinking. And I like that like that approach, that why his reason for coming on board with the UNC is because he could align with
Yeah.
what the leader was saying. And we know for a fact, nobody don't have to tell us what the leader is thinking, or or what she wants to do and where her heart and mind is. We all connect to that. And when I told her what I wanted to see for your area and made your constituency a very high priority, she did it. And she allocated the resources to bring it in there and to give the support to the people. And I encouraged the people up in the area there to come on board as much as I could. And I mean, you guys did. Everybody came on board and did such an excellent job. I am so proud of you guys. I could never stop saying how proud I am for the way you turned out and stood up for yourself. The people of Tokosani Grande, and
Yep.
also those people down in DB, not DB, Labre and Point Fortin. I have a young lady there that I'd helped some years ago when she was stuck outside the country. She said, Mr. Gary, I want to let you know, it's not the older people that bring this election in, it's we young people that did this. I say, I know that.
Yes.
I say, I know that, because they see the young people say they ain't taking that no more.
That's
They're
right.
not going to take that not more. So, quite a bit of things we talked about, and, these different programs, because you see, we want to create stepping stones. If you notice what Barry said recently, with the CPEP program, he wants to create it in a way that there's opportunities. A CPEP job, you must have other things aligned with it. Not just at 10 days, you're begging for 10 days and you're hoping to get 10 days and all this pressure to get 10 days. there must be greater opportunity. And I talked about redirecting how things flow. So, instead of flowing from Port of Spain, it should be flowing the other way from the East Coast, with the
Yeah.
line of the tourism and how we're going to redirect that connection so that the business opportunity, the tourism flows through that area from that end, from the eastern side, not coming through Port of Spain, to come up to you, because that's killing you over there. That's not benefiting you. So redirecting that tourist traffic through Toko Sandy Grande, through that port area that we discussed, I want to see that, and when it's feasible, I want to see that get off the ground, But a lot of how we go about it is, we're going to discuss that privately, Mr. Singh, you
Okay.
want to jump in, Dr. Murad, Dr. Rambo, just kind of jump in a little bit?
No, I concur with what Wayne is saying, and I'm glad he's pushing the agenda for the development of the communities in and around Toko. That's an area that has been sorely neglected over the years, especially under the PNM, who promised so much and deliver so little.
Yeah. We need to step up the government and make the rich richer, right? Well, we don't see it that way. We see it as when you're building a building, you have to build the foundation and strengthen the foundation before you get to the roof.
Yes. So this is a very noteworthy effort. If we can pull this through together, it will mean long-term sustainable jobs to the community, and that will be a great effort for diversification and development of the region there.
So if I am to understand what you all are saying, hi, Wayne, how are you?
I'm doing wonderful.
So Mr. Wayne Alonso is the manager of the constituency of Toko Sandy Grande.
Okay.
And we've been putting a few projects with it. We didn't add you to the project yet because we were putting some things together. But you can go ahead, Dr. Maraj.
Yes, because I thought he said he was talking to Tobago. So I thought he was one of the Tobago constituents.
No.
No. I have a home here, so I come here whenever I could get away now.
That here would be Tobago?
In Tobago, yes, sir.
Okay. You also have a home, I guess, in the northeast in Trinidad.
Well, I stay with family in Sangre Grande, just where I was born. So I'm right around the corner from the office. I'm from Foster Road originally, and the office is on Foster Road.
Right, excellent. And so I have a couple of questions, and I probably maybe more than two, but I would hold on to. Let me just ask two of the questions first.
Okay.
Toko Sandy Grande seems, I think some of the colleagues were hinting that it's a neglected area, but we could make that argument for many of the areas in Trinidad that are neglected, especially by the People's National Movement and the 5-year and 10-year plan that they had in the past. I don't know if your constituency benefited in any way, because there's a heavy concentration on the northwest peninsula of Trinidad, and not very much happens. I think the Honorable Prime Minister talks about east of the not the flyover. Well, you can say the flyover, but east of the lighthouse.
East of the lighthouse.
East of the lighthouse. Yeah.
So that's south of the Caroni Bridge.
Right. So that's the two Trinidad we have. The one west of the lighthouse, and the other one east of the lighthouse, which will include Tobago. Incidentally, Tobago, and indeed the other parts of the country, including the Western Peninsula way down in the deep south. So, because my question to you, number one, would be, what industries do we have in the Toko Sandy Grande area, if any? You could even include service industries such as tourism, or what else could have been done And secondly, we heard about a drowning recently in the Matura River, which
That's
we are not
Mayaro, isn't it?
aware of. So can you tell us, was that a danger spot for anyone to take notice of, or is it something happened suddenly, just like one in a blue moon kind of thing? So I don't know if you could answer those two before I ask you any more, and then I have some more questions for you. If you could answer those two for me, please. The first one is about
Mhm.
sorry? Yeah, the
No, go
first
ahead.
one is about industries. What industry you have of the, if any, or what should be developed or what can be developed in the northeast of Trinidad? As you know, as we said before, is a bit neglected, and you are aware of that more than I am. And the second one is we hear about that recent drowning. It sounds terrible, but we didn't know about this river at all up there. That people go up there and frequent up there. I wanted to know whether this is a once in a blue moon kind of thing, or something we should pay particular attention to going forward, that there's a danger sign and we didn't pay attention to it.
The river, I didn't see the report, but I understand it was in the Mayaro area and not Mathura.
No,
Anybody could?
Matura.
Oh, it's Matura. Okay. So if it is that river where they have what they call the River Lime facility, it's like a camping site with a bar, a lot of sheds where you can cook and rent. There is some small cottage rental opportunities. I know they have horseback riding and they have some animals. They have a slide, a large swimming pool area. Nice place to carry a family and your kids, to spend a day or maybe a weekend. I know there's a river running through. I cannot say that I've heard of prior drownings, but it's a place that facilitates large crowds of people, especially weekends like this weekend. So that is really an unfortunate incident. I saw a photo of the young lady. Look like she has full of potential, a lot of life in her. And yes, it probably will require some form of investigation as to the space safety, the type of infrastructure that should be in place, warning signs, and the corporation should take frontal approach to doing those kind of investigation. So that would be under their domain pretty much. So to tell you if I know as a fact that there were prior drownings, I really couldn't tell you that. To address question number one in terms of industries, as far as I know, there have not been any. There's talk on the campaign trail about the need for an AMDEFCO because the area is touted as an agriculture area. You look at the two constituencies, Kumoto Manzanella and Topo Sangre Grande, it is touted as an agriculture area, but it is also a tourist hub. It's a place that attracts a lot of local and international tourists, and I think that area is reserved for the entire period. I mean, basic infrastructure, water, further back east towards Mission, straight to Matlot, and the street lighting, they were far and few in between. There were large stretches of darkness along those roads still. So it's a place that, yes, I will admit, not a bit neglected, but it was definitely neglected. I don't know, deliberate or otherwise, are really living back in the 60s, right here in Trinidad. They are living in the 60s. All right, the roads, I mean, the damages to the roads, the bridges that are there since the British was here, they still exist. They still exist today on that road. There are buses that have problems going into Matla. There are people, sometimes they get cut off when they have landslides and that sort of thing. So yeah, there's a lot of work to be done, and not just on the people, but the physical infrastructure of that place. There's a lot of work need to be done.
Is there potential for any new industries other? You mentioned tourism, and that is something should have been developed further. Because if you mentioned there's the river and there is lighthouse and beach houses and bars, and that means there's an attempt to take it forward. Maybe not enough, but something could have been advanced so that tourism can be, because I've been there a couple of times and I can tell you it's a lovely place. It's very far, but it's nice to go up to the lighthouse way up into Toko, into the point, and try to see Tobago from there, which I don't think I was
Yeah.
able to. But it was a nice area, and I like you come from Tobago. I thought you were taking the boat and just come across 22 miles if there's such a boat from Togo to
Well, certainly,
Tobago. I don't know why they
certainly,
never had
certainly.
No, no, well, listen,
ferry
Dr.
service.
Maharaj,
Yes.
the route from Togo to Tobago is something that I have proposed, and that I proposed that we build that port, and so that we could not only have an inter-island connection between Tobago, but also the rest of the island, so we get that flow of tourism instead of going to Port of Spain. Now, when you get that going, then you have the option of hotels, restaurants, and everything that will fall in line with that. And we would have to look at what other opportunities we can create with the natural resources that belongs to that area, and we would work on developing that. So there's a few things, Dr. Maharaj, that I would have to add you to a conversation when we get going. Probably next week, Mr. Alonso, when you have time. So we can do
I
a
like nighttime. This time is really great for me. Whether
okay.
here in Tobago or in Trinidad. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So yeah, so we'll get everybody in, and we could just have a good discussion on it. But go ahead, Dr. Marsh.
Yeah, so let me just make because you all touched on something and it was on my mind, so I want to carry forward a little bit. You all mentioned, in fact, you just mentioned Mr. Alonso. You mentioned the young lady who still have a life, a lot of life ahead and lots of contribution to give because they were pretty young. Like my question or my statement or my comment is, and it occurred to me this morning that some of our very young and not well middle-aged and young people, women in Trinidad, seems to be losing their lives. And the thing about it is that some of them are very beautiful. Some of them have a lot of years ahead of them. Some of us have a lot of contribution to give. I have in mind like the one in Matura, that lady who lost her life. The other one the other day down in D-Bay in South Trinidad. And also there's a one, I think there was one in Westmoreland, another Spanish, half Spanish, I think Trinidadian Coco Pile, whatever she looks like or whatever she was. And then there's the unforgettable Andrea Barrett and then the other kidnapping girl, which turned out to be positive, which is what I'm saying is that it looks like some of our young women seems to be in danger. Is there a pattern developing here, like not intentionally or not? Like some is being perpetrated on them, while in another situation just mishaps are taking these young people's lives. And like Mr. Alonso said, they have a beautiful future yet ahead of them. I mean, the girl is 43 years or 40 something, early 40s, and she has a lot to give, and she's a kind of good-looking lady too. And I can imagine to lose someone so young in your country, that's a big loss to society. And I think that is where you all, Mr. Alonso was kind of going with this, which was my thinking this morning. So I don't know if anybody have anything else to add to this, but I am deeply moved by some of these recent, and the one also in Arima, this minister lady who's pretty much a youngish lady as well. She wasn't all that old. She was already have a lot. Have a lot to give to the country going forward. Still, I think her name was Morris something from Arima. I'm from Arima, so I should have known her relatives.
That's Lisa Morris Julian in the fire, but there was a young lady recently from the Sandy Grande area, Toko area there, that she was.
Yeah, so there must have been others as well, which I'm not aware of. But I mean,
chopped up and
is
thrown
there?
in a suitcase, in the woods somewhere there, and
Right.
But so we have a general crime problem. Okay,
Yeah, but
and
our woman seems to be under attack. Is that
everybody's under attack, not just the women. But I mean, they are the weaker targets a lot of the times.
Yeah, we're
And
losing them by but we're losing them by mishaps. Like for example, the DB example, and the one in the Maturek. These are unfortunate things that happen. These were not crimes, really. And the one in the woman in a Ream also was, and the other one of them was a crime. The one in Port of Spain, where this yeah again middle-aged young lady lost her life. I think someone killed her or something like that also. And there are many. And Gary's adding a few more different ones as well. And not so much as the crime I'm referring to. I'm referring to like unfortunate mishaps that are happening to our young people. So your nation needs I've asked the Baptist people might be able to help us. Your nation needs some kind of special says broom element. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, Wayne. When we talk about using the broom and sweeping that moving away the kind of the Moruga people will know
that is
Moruga
a PNM. That is
phobia.
a kind of
That-
PNM. That is a PNM kind of. I think we're not talking about that. So
No, I
what we're
know, but
talking about.
but I mean, something has happened. I don't know what it is. That you all something is happening, and we need to see. Maybe we need to have a second look at what is going on really with all these unfortunate incidents, and some intended and some not. But that's the
Well,
general thing I wanted to
Doc,
make. If
you
anybody want
have
to
to
pitch in.
understand something here. It's gross negligence by the PNM that caused our country to get to the stage where it is. Okay, this is not an overnight thing. All right, I mean we have a mismanaged police force, we have a mismanaged uh, everything, every ministry, mismanaged health sector, gross negligence and discriminations against people in the country. With some people that is hoarding the wealth, and so this is what I was talking about earlier about redirecting the flow of the tourism from Toko to Tobago, making that connection that will generate some income there in that area, and other industries can be added. Where we assist the agricultural industry, and we assist with the exportation of the goods produced in the country. We promote it on the international market. Those of us who live overseas could work in collaboration with our country, and we function as brand ambassadors because we live outside here and we promote the goods and service, and a lot of us promote our culture. Yeah, it's just that we don't get the right kind of support to boost it and turn it into some kind of an economic cash flow. So I mean, we are very proud people of our culture. We always promote our culture, I mean, music overseas, but how do we capitalize on it? And this is what we have to. This is where we need to work on.
Yep.
So go ahead, guys. Anybody who has.
Yeah, if I may just,
So
Yeah, Mr. Singh, go ahead. Anybody?
yeah,
yeah.
no, was just piggybacking on what Mr. Maraj or Dr. Maraj was saying. You know, the crime is Dr. Maraj is not only the beautiful ladies of Trinidad, but everybody is a target down there right now. Kids, children, men, old women, old men, pensioners, everybody, anybody and everybody is a target. That's how bad the country has been turned into of 10 years of mismanagement. So, you know, to justify the point,
Yeah.
but
Come on.
it's not only the woman folk, but the whole cross section of the population.
The volume? Yeah. Give me 1 second, guys. Yeah, the controller will connect.
Go ahead, Mr. Singh. You can talk while he's doing this.
Yeah, that's what I was emphasizing, that part. The crime is so bad that they could go anywhere. Anybody is all at risk. Everyone is at risk. I mean, I see in Tobago this past week, 3 guys hold up the supermarket next to by me there. And you know what they're trying to get? Some food stuff and some champagne.
That's in Tobago you're talking about.
Yeah, in Carl's supermarket.
Yeah.
I happen to live 1 block from there. And there's a place that's open most of, like literally from 6 to 11 in the night. A lot of people, a lot of thoroughfare, a lot of visitors, tourists, everybody banging there. Because it's like a night, a night stop. You got a lot of things, grocery as well as your cold beverages, as they say, and so on. So, I mean, could you imagine you're doing a hold up, a robbery in a supermarket, and you're going after the champagne?
Well, listen to me. The whole structure, how we deal with it. Well, we have been having this conversation here about organizing not only the police but the community structure to work in collaboration. So we all working together in putting a little restraint where we send if we organize ourselves properly. This is how I see it. Is that we could send a very clear message to cause the criminals to reconsider their decision because we are organized to respond. Most of the time, it have you know uh, 6 or 8 of them or more that ambushes a home or a business, and the community is not prepared to respond. And these are young, athletic people. And first of all, we have allowed them to go astray. And that is why we end up where we are. We did not put things in a structured way. So right now, the cure is going to, is going to cost us more than the preventative. There's a lot of things that we have to do to restructure how things are operated. I mean, we see a police commissioner making some effort there, and he's making a drastic effort, and we just all have to fall in line to work in collaboration with the police, local government, national government, communities. All have to find a way that we all work in. But what we need from TTPS is a level of trust that they have destroyed themselves between the people and themselves because they have allowed to keep the wrong people on the force that betrayed the trust of the people. We have to serve the people and not give them the runaround when they come to us for help. There's a lot of things that has to fix.
A lot of things to fix, Gary. Yeah.
But you so that has been my point all along. You cannot expect to fix it with the same old. You have to change. Where is the change coming from? We have a SOE, but the SOE is not a change. The SOE is breathing space for the change to come. What is that change to come? It cannot be the same old. It wouldn't work. I told you all that we need to adopt a carnival.
I think he might have dropped. Possibly he dropped, right? The Wi-Fi probably dropped. Samad? Hello? Hi, guys. Gary?
Yeah, Doc, I'm hearing you. I just want to reboot. I went to reboot my Wi-Fi.
They probably dropped. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, I got dropped too, but I just rebooted my Wi-Fi and keep back on.
All right. Yeah, Probably
Yeah.
Dr. Maraj got dropped. I see Wayne also. I'm not hearing Gary. So one of
Yeah.
the well, you know, the one of the things that we learned from the bubonic plague, if you remember the Spanish flu and the bubonic plague,
Mm-hmm.
right? One of the lessons that the world learned from those two great pandemics was that after a pandemic, and when you have millions of people dying, the world goes through a stage of mental a decrease in mental health. All right, and this is manifested in many ways, right? In a small country like ours, unfortunately, because we had, I guess, um, I would say overall, I mean, looking at it from outside in, I don't think that the COVID-19 pandemic was managed as good as it should be in our country by the government. I think that there were a lot of defects in that management, and they pretty much wasn't listening to anyone, you know. So I feel that because of that, we are experiencing all the manifestations of mental illness, and it's reflected in society. And you're going to have, well, we are having, and it's not being reported, but we're having increased intentional injury, that is suicidal type illnesses and injuries. We are having um, madness on the roads. It's like road rage. I mean, every time you drive on the highways and byways of Trinidad and Tobago, you are seeing people honking their horns and impatient, right? Driving at 110, 120 kilometers on roads that have traffic or rain, and the surfaces are wet. We're seeing young people, for example, who are unemployed, right? A lot of the ones, for example, um, they are turning to a life of crime, and that is happening in a generation that some people say we miss them, but it is the generation alpha, right, is the ones that we need to work with now, but our generations Z in about 10, let me say it, by about 2030, 2035, they are the ones who are going to be voting for us. They are the ones who are going to be in our jobs. So I think that mental health programs by the Ministry of Health and Ministry of Social Services, they need to be increased in all our constituencies, in all our municipalities and Tobago. One of the problems is seeing people going to these recreational areas more and more. People cannot afford to go to the malls because there are a lot of high costs in the malls. If you go to the malls on weekends, it's packed. You can't even get a park. And when you look at some of the stores, a lot of them are just empty. A lot of persons are in the food courts. A lot of people are eating badly. I went Friday night, and my wife and I said, look, we want to go and get some junk food. So we drove to McDonald's, and the lines were huge. They were large, right? The lines to churches, Kentucky, right? I mean, they were large. So we said, look, you know what? Let's just go home and have a sandwich. So we went and we had a grilled cheese sandwich with some, with some salad and some cocoa tea, and we settled with that. But people are out there, and they are stressed out, right? You're seeing it in different ways, how they how they talking to each other. If you look at the internet, right, you see anger and frustration. And the recent deaths that we had, the accidental deaths, I mean, these were purely accidental, but they were preventable. And I think one of the problems we have is that we are seeing things, and I mean, it's as though like people didn't care, and they don't care about some of the things that are around them. I saw last night we were coming from, we went up to the Maracas, Leilani Estate, which is very close to the Maracas waterfall. And we decided to go to Maracas. So we went to Maracas and we spent some time in Maracas Beach. And I tell you, it was really sad, right? It was really pathetic that when you go to Maracas Beach, that lovely beach, but they had so many people, but about 60% of the cars were parked in no parking areas. The car park had many vacant places, but nobody parked in it because they were allowed to park on the road in the no parking areas. The toilets were jam-packed. The car park had a lot of stagnant water. The beach itself had a lot of tents, and there were touts. As soon as you arrived in the car park, there were these people that were buggering you for them to give you for them to sell you the tents and the chairs. And when you arrived at the beach, it was as though they were all around you, hounding you, and pushing you into purchasing tents and chairs. And when you sat down there, your view was obstructed by these huge tents. You couldn't see the beach. And whilst you were sitting, people were passing through your tents to go to the beach because there was no other way to pass. Now, this is Maracas Beach, So we left there and we came back in the evening, in the night. And just before Chaguanas, in the new highway, it was very dark and it was raining. And when you look on the road, you had about 3 or 4 different lines. We had to hog the right side because it was safer, because we weren't sure which were the lanes, on the road. Because if you follow the lanes in the night, they were chaotic because they had dotted lines, straight lines, and the old lines were meeting with the new lines, and somebody will get killed there, And this is something that stresses out people, right? You could imagine people leaving work in Port of Spain, and in the night they want to get away from the traffic and all that traffic coming down in the middle of the night, and they have to drive these roads to negotiate those lanes, especially with bad weather. By the time they reach home, they have to sleep to go back up to work in the other morning. I mean, it's creating more and more stress. And then when you're driving up in the morning, there's these people who would drive on the shoulder and pass you to go in front, and there's nobody to apprehend them or to charge them. Or I saw a guy was actually going in and out with his car in front of our vehicle. We had a grandchild in the car, and this guy was actually popping in and out, in the vehicle. So it is. I'm not saying it doesn't exist in other countries, but when we go to the United States, we rent cars. I rent a car. I drive. I have my license in Canada. I drive when I go there. The regulations and the stringent conditions on the roads and the law enforcement and the police, the policing. I mean, it's very, very, it's very developed, right? I mean, when we go to some of the rivers, there are walkways, right, on the side of the river that are clean and lighted. People could go and walk. This is very important. I mean, why this cannot happen in the Maracas area? I saw in Japan just a couple of days ago when the earthquake struck. You saw videos where people are on the coast. They had these car parks that they ran to the car parks and they went to the 4th story. They went right up, from the beach, and they went up onto the 4th story. So they evacuated the beach and they had these car parks on the other side of the road, which allowed them to go beyond the 30 feet mark, right? So when you think about a country like Trinidad, where you have thousands of people in Maracas, and, a volcano erupts in Grenada, right? Or there's a tsunami coming into the Atlantic Ocean, where do these people go? Where do they go? They get killed. They will get killed because they cannot even exit the peninsula. So the beach, sorry. Now, these are things, they might sound, I don't know, they might sound like if it's theoretical or You think that it can never happen to us, but we are due for an earthquake. And these are the simple things, Dr. Maraj, Mr. Alonso. These are the simple things that we need to get right. When we went up and we were passing the lookout in Maracas, and you see people stopping there, and it's beautiful, but you know what? There's no place to pee. There is no place to pee. There is no place to come out and have a piss. You know what I mean? And it's amazing that in a country like ours in 2025, that these things are not, they're not there. So I hope as we go forward in Toco Sangre Grande, I think that these are the things. It wouldn't take much, right? There are 5 components or types of resilience. We have physical resilience, emotional resilience, mental or cognitive resilience, social resilience, and community resilience. That's when we're talking about disasters and whatever. Mental health has been declared by the United Nations, by WHO, as what is called a cross-cutting theme. So in other words, that in all of our programming, in all of our plans, in all of our policies, embedded in that policy must have mental health, a focus on mental health, building spiritual and mental health. I'm not talking about religious, I'm talking about spiritual and mental health. And I think that we have many organizations within Trinidad, from the private sector. I mean, I am a Rotarian now for nearly 35 years. I've been in a Rotary Club. And we have, in fact, right now, I'm actually in charge of empowering the Rotary Clubs of Trinidad and Tobago in their mental health programs. We have a committee that was set up, which is an international committee, and I'm the local representative to go to all the clubs and identify in each club and ensure that the Rotary Clubs implement a mental health program in their community. And I don't know if you know, but we do have a Rotary Club of Sangre Grande, right? And they are the ones who are going to help us. Yes. So it is important that we identify the simple things. And when we see a young lady coming from work, right, and for whatever reason, only she can tell us, unfortunately she can't, she veered off a road where there were no barriers in the first place for her to go down in the precipice into that fast flowing river because of the rains of the day and the day before. She didn't have a chance. She just had 1 or 2 minutes to live. And no matter if we heard her in the car and she didn't do what she could have done, she would have died. And the young lady, well, I would say relatively young, as Dr. Maraj was saying, a pretty lady, very nice lady at 45. She looked very young for her age. And, she is there with her grandchild. Most likely, I mean, they said if she was going for her slippers, but I think what might most likely would have happened is that she was bathing. And because that river has deep spots, which you can't negotiate, and because of the heavy, as I said, we were in the Maracas Valley that same day. And there was this heavy downpour of rain. And even in the Lailani estate, we were seeing the gushing of the water, which was on the higher aspects of that river. So you could imagine by the time that actual water reached the Matura River coast, close to the coast, it would have been a lot of water. And it would have, from the days before, the water would have had channels, or it would have gone into the deeper channels of that river. And that river is known to have certain areas where there are deeper channels. So she might have just, or the baby and her, might have just gone to bathe on the side of the river and slipped into one of those fast-flowing channels. And then trying to save the child, she obviously got into difficulty and was trapped under the bamboo.
The baby slipper went in the water and she tried to grab it.
That's what the daughter alleges. That's what the daughter alleges. But if you do a forensic analysis of what happened, I don't think that is something that is true. I think they might have been bathing and they got into difficulty, and the grandmother tried to save the child and she got into difficulty and she died. I mean, it's not If I have my grandchild how did the child get into the water if you're trying to save the slippers? You understand what I'm saying? So I think it is, and you don't bathe with slippers, so it's not right. If you do a proper analysis of that, it probably won't hold ground. All right, but anyway, whatever the cause, the lady died, and that is not good. So when you guys have been abroad, right? You guys have, I mean, Dr. Maraj, you in Europe, Sumant, you have been all over, and if you go into recreational areas, right? I drove through Calgary Park the other day, a massive area. Yeah. And when you go into that park, you have to go through a boot, and they have about 6 booths to get in there. When you get in there, they tell you what you have to do, where you have to go. You just can't go into a river. There's security, there's signage, there's places where you park your car. You don't drive up to the river with your pot and your cooking stove and all of these things. Now, if we know we have a culture, but we have to adapt a bit to that, to safety and security. If you go to Coral River on a weekend, right? Sometimes you're actually in the water and you're seeing, foul feather and blood and entrails coming down the river sometimes, because people are throwing the litter, right, and the garbage into the river, right? There are no garbage bins, right? So there's a cultural issue. There's a lot of flouting of safety, but you see, there's nobody to enforce the safety, and there's nobody to identify the safety issues in some of these rivers. The locals know exactly what happens in that river when the water is up. But the people who are coming there once a month, once every 6 months, they don't understand the river. It's the same thing with Mayaro. I'm sure, Wayne, when you go to Mayaro, most of us who know the tides and the rip currents and whatever, we don't go in some of the areas of Mayaro. But sometimes a lot of people lose their lives in Mayaro, and this is a very frequent area where people lose their lives, even with lifeguards around. Just in front of my beach house in Mayaro, a guy lost his life about 6 months ago, right? And that's where I catch fish every weekend when I go, because I know where the puddles are, I know where the holes are, I know the undercurrents, I know the riptides, and I know how to negotiate them. Now, these are things that, we are island, you see. So we have to focus on the simple things that prevent the loss of life, right? So I've made 3 points. I think I'll shut up here now, because I think that we have to be a resilient population. If any one of you all have ever been to Japan, right, and you see the quality of the resilience of these people, right, the respect. When you go into a bank, right there, everybody says hello. I mean, it's amazing, And when you leave, they say goodbye. And this happened. I went into a bank and I didn't understand. They bow to you, right? We saw children when we were doing the drills, and they were showing us how they are so resilient. When there's a siren, right, in the school, the children have their bags packed already, and they will drop it on their little backs, and they will run out of the room, and they will go into a line, and the teacher will take them up to the higher areas, etc. Now, these things we take for granted, and we are due for an earthquake. We are overdue for an earthquake, right? So we should have these things in our schools, especially in the coastal areas. All the schools in Mayaro, Manzanilla, Tokosang, all our coastal schools around, especially the north and the eastern coast of Trinidad and Tobago. These are things that we have to get done. So when we begin to apply resiliency, the resiliency concept or the resiliency program, and Gary and Wayne, and all of us here, we say, okay, we're gonna do it in Toko-Sangre Grande. But Dr. Maraj made a very good point. It's not just Toko-Sangre Grande. A lot of our constituencies need these simple things. But the highway, we talked about enforcement on the highway. I was with my son driving. I was in the front seat of the car. We had our baby in the back of the car, and my daughter-in-law, my wife, and my daughter. And throughout that journey, my pulse is normally supposed to be about 80, 90. It was rapid because there were people cutting in and out. On a public holiday today, it was even worse. Yesterday it was even worse. I mean, you were so you were so stressed out on that highway, right? So, and there were no police on the side of the road. There was none. Today, when we were going up, we saw them timing on the southbound. You know, we saw some police officers timing for speed. So I will keep quiet now because there are a lot of things that I've said. But I think mental programs or mental health programs, as we learned from the bubonic plague, we learned from the Spanish flu, and of course COVID, we can actually forecast that we will have an increase in mental illnesses globally. Small island states like us, we are impacted more, especially if we don't have the support programs from our government and our private sector, side. Our private sector is a very strong sector. Our capital investment in the private sector is something sometimes we forget, but we have a very strong private sector, right? And I think that the PPP, the government must strengthen the private sector partnerships, right, and engage the private sector in meaningful ways, right, as we go forward in terms of building resilience in constituencies like Toko Manzanilla, right? Mental health development, right, working with communities to look at all the types of resilience I talked about: physical, emotional, mental, social, and community resilience, developing or actually enhancing existing toolkits. Right, you all saw that the Ministry of Planning under the People's Partnership government had a very comprehensive document in terms of spatial development and planning. This was done by the minister, I think it was Botiwari, when he was there at the time. Right, it's an excellent document. Of course, it needs to be upgraded because now 10 years have elapsed or more. Right, so there are certain things that we have to inject into it, right, Samad? We have to put in AI issues and other things to make that more a stronger document, because you see, documents like that, you don't put it on a shelf for 10 years, right? These documents have to be fleshed out. They have to be ruled out, as they say. And as it evolves, you add things and you delete things that are out of date and you add things that are updated, right? Our generation Z, right, and generation Alpha, in the next 10 years, they're gonna have new generations. These guys will get older. Look at us, baby boomers. Look at me, a baby boomer. Look at where I am now. So I think that clearly we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We have documents, Dr. Maraj. We have quite a lot of documents. It's just that some people don't know about it. They store up in shelves, right? So once we can get those, the work has already been done. Many years. Look at Sumant, you have done a lot of work, I'm sure, in the ministry, right? And some of the documents you have probably still collecting dust there, right? Nobody has taken them out. I have done over 62 policies when I was at the ODPM, right? Including a national integrated flood management plan. You find out where that document is, right? We prepared a national pandemic influenza plan. And in 2013, we took all that plan and we brought all the key stakeholders, because when I came back from Geneva in 2014, right, and in 2015, when we went to Japan, they told us that all the scientists at the time said we were going to have a pandemic, right? We brought out the National Pandemic Influenza Plan. It was supposed to be led by the Ministry of Health, right? And I mean, it's sad to say that the PNM government never took out that plan. They never took out that plan during their COVID management. You didn't see any elements of that plan being executed. Although I wrote, the only forum that I could have wrote on is Facebook, because I had no other means, Facebook and Instagram. Nobody was listening to us. The Minister of Health definitely wasn't listening to us. So that's it. I mean, for me, that's just my piece. I mean, for tonight.
Why just all that? Anyway, Mr. Alonso, what do you think so far? You think the team ready to assist you up there? You think we equipped?
Well, you know, we gelling. I think that's good. You know, I like the trend of thought, because in development, you know, people are always your primary focus for whatever you're developing. I think under the PNM, we have seen it the other way around, where people is a subject to whatever they decide. You know, they put a building, whether it is legal or not, and then they say, well, okay, we make sure that we could get the contractor to make all that money, And then they study, okay, so now that the building is built, let's put some people, but they never fix the building to the point where one has real tenure. There is no elevator, just for voter padding. There's a situation where I recall in 2007, I was on contract under the Ministry of Community Development. Manning was the Prime Minister. Somebody has a background noise that is somewhat disturbing. I don't know if anyone could check.
Can everybody
Yeah.
mute their phone until he is finished talking, so we can all mute our phone?
Yeah, Manning was the Prime Minister then. And I recall having to accompany a consultant group from Jamaica that was walking through the Betham. We had to have police escort and all that good stuff. But they were doing some mapping, a socio-economic survey that was being done with the plan to rehabilitate East Port of Spain. I don't know if anybody remember that plan that Manning had when he was building Napa and Sapa on the waterfront. He was going to do over the grandstand. And part of that development plan was to knock down all those buildings in Betham and rebuild the city. Right. It included sea-lots, right? Now, wonderful plan, but who was the Minister of Housing then? It was Christopher Rowley. And what happened when he took the government? After 10 years, he left the people hanging, But I want to go back a bit to reference the last presentation, and we were talking about developing or developed society. Trinidad and Tobago could be seen in the Eastern Caribbean as the most developed society. But look at the dichotomy of this word development. In 2017, I journeyed to Dominica, which is the Commonwealth of Dominica. I was one of the first to volunteer to rebuild that island after the passage of Hurricane Maria. I went up to Living Waters and raised my hands. I paid my way because I felt I needed to go and help. And I went for 2 weeks because they asked us to build a warehouse to store the amount of foodstuff that was coming into the island during that period. And after 2 weeks meeting the people of that island, I stayed there for 3 years. Now, there is a saying in Dominica, if Christopher Columbus were to return tomorrow, he could recognize Dominica first and foremost because there was really little or no development between then to now. And so no street lights, not street lights, sorry, but traffic lights. Street signs were one and few in between, Roseau, no signage. You just knew the island and you made your way around. So no development at all. But you know what made me stay there, guys? Wasn't about those things. It was about the people. The people had a kind of love. They reminded me of the days that I used to go to Toco because my ex-wife is from Toco. And it's a place when you go there, whatever they had to offer, people brought to you. You go fish, you brought some for your neighbor. You cut, banana, you shared some with your neighbor.
Same thing used to be in my arrow when I was growing up. My father worked out there, and
that is what impressed me with Dominica. And I said to myself, but they are more developed than us, Trinidad. So we talk about crime. The people of Trinidad, they are angry, they are short-tempered, and it goes right back to the conversation that William Monroe had. So I think we pretty much are wise enough to understand the foundational, rationale for why we are where we are today. We are certainly not developed because the government has not taken time to develop the mental health, the morals, the spirituality of the very number one resource of the land, which is the people. That has been failings from ever since. And this is why I think we can now start focusing on the question that was asked, what do we do? And while all of us may not have, that straight answer, But I think that is where the work is, to really examine what we already know.
I'll tell you what we do. You see what India did? India invested in its people. That was the first thing they did. Okay? And as you know, so this is what we need to do in Trinidad and Tobago, is to invest in our people, to restructure our community, to build the lives of our people. So this is the kind of direction we have to go. It's going to take much more work because there's serious damages to our treasury, and we have to recoup some of that money, not just hold people accountable, and bring that money back to the people where we allocate that money. And when money is allocated to the people, we want to make sure that money is going towards the people. So how we manage this is another thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it has to be well thought out, because it has to be sustainable. So it has to be thought out and acted upon, you know, not just thought out, because we have a lot of documents sitting on.
I think we lost him. Gary?
I'm hearing somebody.
I think Ruben was going there for a little bit. I've seen him, but I'm not hearing him.
No, I was speaking.
Go ahead. Okay.
Okay.
We didn't hear you for the last 2 minutes or so.
Last 2 minutes, they want to repeat.
I think somebody responded to the question, what do we do? And, you know, it was mentioned, you know, investing in the people. And I was agreeing with that. I think the issue is, as it relates to us, let's look at the reality of our space. While we have examples in developed societies, and we do have a benchmark to work towards, you know, this requires very incremental, well thought out, timely, cultural. There's so much other differences in creating some unique approaches to meet the needs of this space that we are in. Like I said, the people are angry. So mental health is surely, there's a large increase in young people, you know, having psychiatric diagnoses, and not much attention is paid to it. More than an injection once every so often, they come out and they give to you as outpatients, you know. So yeah, certainly, I think it's good work. It will engage a widest cross section of society. The churches have to get involved. Community groups must be involved. It has to be community driven, community, you know, engaged. Everybody understanding that they have something to give. I made that statement at the Valencia Village Council a couple of weeks ago. You know, wherever you are and whatever you have, give something. Stop asking what the country can do for you. It's like, how can I make an impact within my small space? I went to a graduation recently where a head of a church used his church as a community center. Got two gentlemen from the community, one teaching upholstery, the other one leather craft, and engaged 25 people, mainly mothers, to teach them to do this work. And I mean, courts would be happy to get that kind of work, you know, really, really professionally done work in a little church where, although they offer their service for free, the people had to purchase the material. And there were a lot of testimonies, I want to call it, because, you know, each person were called upon at the graduation to give an account for the experience. And in a lot of cases, people had no money to even buy the material, where within that little 25 community, 25 persons community, they were helping each other. You know, they were buying for each other and supporting each other to make it to the finish line. But the end product was just amazing. And that is what I said. Here are two men who offered their service and their talents for free to empower 25 people in a squatting community in Valencia. And that spoke volume in what can happen when people are engaged, you know? So in addition to the physical infrastructure, yeah, we got to engage communities, we got to engage persons. We have a young lady who got evicted recently, and she has a piece of land, and I'm awaiting a friend of mine from a church to donate the material, and I've already engaged 7 guys. These guys are builders and contractors. They are willing to go up to Toko and build a 10 by 10 for her so that she has a covering on, you know, over her head. So those are the kind of things, you know, when you engage people, things can happen. So we got to look at the uniqueness of our space, using the same developmental models, but, you know, in a different way that will, you know, benefit the widest cross-section of the society that we are dealing with here. Certainly we look at developed societies and see what we could borrow here and fashion there, but we cannot run ahead of ourselves and forget the people to whom we are providing the service. A lot of them are illiterate. We have children right now, 10 years, have not had an opportunity to enter primary school. This was revealed to me 2 weeks ago in Sangre Grande, because after COVID, parents were afraid to send their children to school. Now think about it. COVID was in 2020. That was 5 years ago. This was the age of a lot of children now entering the primary school system. And so now we are hearing that there are almost 400 children on the roster where they are seeking spaces for in the constituency of Toko Sangre Grande. That need to be looked at throughout the entire country, which will demand the need for increased schools, construction of schools at those 3 levels, which is early childhood.
No, Wayne, that cannot wait.
Go ahead.
There's no construction of schools. They need to rent a building and get a temporary school in the meantime. That cannot wait.
All that, and I support that.
From September. September.
Certainly. 400. Yep, that is coming out of the local office of the Ministry of Education in Sangre Grande. You see? So yeah, people engagement, and you know, getting the government to be that overarching support for some of these ideas and programs needed for our space.
You know, Wayne, sorry, but the 2011 census, right, said that there were about 18,127 persons living in the Sangre Grande county, right? And what is pretty interesting, well, they did not do a census in 2021 because of the COVID. And I am appealing, and I've been appealing to the government that as soon as they get themselves settled, right, at least in maybe next year, that they should embark upon a census. But judging from the you know, like when we have these graphs, you know, we would have a population growth, right, rate, which is the average population growth rate, and when we multiply that growth rate, right, with the population of Sangre Grande over the past, let's say, 10, 20, 30 years, we can actually predict or forecast. Basically, scientists don't predict; they tend to forecast rather than predict. Predict is for the people in the circus who does looking in the crystal ball. They predict. We forecast. So when we look at the data, what happens is that we say that, and of course, I'm sure you have a lot of Venezuelans there who may not have been counted in the census. We would probably have about between 19 to 20,000 persons there. So it's not an impossible task, you know, to meet or to map the people in the constituencies in Sangre Grande, in that county. And it would not be difficult, really. It's not rocket science. It would not be impossible, right, to do what you just said, focus on a community-based program. And I mean, as I said, I don't think it's a problem statistically or even physically, or even if we have the will to do it for the entire country. I mean, we just like 1.5 million, maybe, you know, if you add the people who we didn't count. 1.5 million is not a big population. You know, you look at some upstate New York or somewhere, and we fit into that. It's not a big population, and we have a lot of qualified people, and I say we have a lot of private sector people who don't mind investing in something that they could get some returns, you know. But no, I don't think it's an impossible task, and I don't think, you know, the approach that you have endorsed and the approach that you have and I have sort of said just now is the way to go. That has proven itself in all the social scientists and all the journals of social sciences in the world, right? It is a best practice, a community-driven, people-centered approach to developing a resilient community, right? Works best, right? And one of the problems that I had, and I'm saying it very clearly, in the People's Partnership Government, is that I think that we created or we exaggerated a dependency syndrome. And it must be important that we don't do that in this 5 years. I hope that the you know, just giving people because of a because it's politically good or politically good to do so, right, to win another election. We have to be very careful that and you made that point just now in the church, right, is that you don't just give. You give, of course, and I'm not saying that we don't give, don't get me wrong, but you have to give, as you said, quite clearly, and they gave a very good example where people have to actually, you know, put out a bit, right, to get.
Yeah. What are you bringing to the table?
Right. You have to teach people to fish and not just give them the fish. Yeah, you have to give them when they need it, but you have to give it in such a way that they are able to fish for themselves, right? Isn't that what you're saying?
Mm-hmm.
So,
yes.
I think that this is where we might have erred, because one of the misconceptions we have, especially in our small countries where we only have 2 political parties, and even when you look at the United States where you have 2, and Canada where you have 2, where political partisanship is a very important thing. In our village, you know, we have somebody in my house who might be PNM, and another 2 people might be UNC, and my neighbors might be PNM, and we meet each other every day, and we talk and we laugh, and, you know, we relax in the Rotary Club. It's because we're so small, and we have to understand that that'll be a part of life. But one of the most important things that we have to realize in this country is that, yes, I know we have to do certain things to win the election, but we have to be also very careful, right, that we are not creating dependency syndromes and people are just going to be given things in order to vote for you. Because let me make it quite clear. Pandey lost the election. The Honorable Prime Minister lost the election, not because they didn't know a lot, you know, they did quite a lot. So some people say performance beats old talk anytime. Well, I dare to say that a government has to build roads. A government has to fix the schools. A government has to give the bursaries. A government has to make sure that people are safe and people are protected for disasters. This is what a government has to do. It's not that if you do that, right, that I have to do that for me to get votes. You see, and I think that's a problem that some people forget, right? So if you do nonsense, like if you give the impression that you're unstable, if you give the impression that there's corruption, you know, if you don't, prove people guilty, right, in a court, and you just, fire them before they are proven guilty, all of these things can make you lose an election. And if you don't go into the communities like we are doing, and we want to do in Toko Sangre Grande, and especially our marginal seats where the focus should be, is you have to build the constituencies from bottom up. But one of the most important things, and this is where the problem lies, if the government policy and the government plan, right, the dogma or the philosophy of government isn't supportive of that, and you have political reasons and dependency programs embedded or at least overarching what you are trying to do to build the country resilience, we're going to have a problem. So one of the most important things as we go forward is that we will have to get political buy-in, right? And that is sometimes very difficult. And we know that that is going to be a challenge. Facilitation of these programs by the government is better than facilitation is a very strong word. A lot of people, Dr. Maraj, don't understand what that word means, right? Facilitation is very clear. It's better you work with the people and get their buy-in and not tell them what you want them to do, right? You have to make them do what you want them to do, but they have to say that themselves. And in a nutshell, that's pretty much what facilitation means. So when a government comes in and we are going into the communities of Toco, Sangre Grande, Tunapuna, San Fernando West, each community is a different community. Each community has a different risk, profile. Each community has a different set of populations, right? The 20,000 people in Sangre Grande is different to 20,000 people in San Fernando West, where a lot of the communities are middle income, gated communities, blah, 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 right? Different from Tunapuna, St. Joseph. So when we go into the other communities, it is clearly, there must be a sociological, socioeconomic approach. There must be looking at your demographics, but you also have to look at your risk in the population and address those risks straight on. And I agree with you, Wayne, that a lot of programs that might have been developed put in developed countries. Remember, a lot of these developed countries, so to speak, are like 150, 200 years old. We are pretty young. Right. We are a very young country. So it's not that you can take a lot of what was done there and come and put it in, but a lot of work has already been done. So it's not that you can't, but you have to adapt it to suit our needs. And resiliency is something that you can't just implement. Resiliency has to be built. It's a culture. So it is, as we all said in this program, Dr. Maraja said it, Dr. Singh has said it, and I mean, you have now joined us, and I mean, I know that you're saying a lot of what we are saying is that, you cannot do some of the things in 5 years. And with 1 year out of the way very soon, that year is going to fly. Look at school. It's almost August now. Very soon is Christmas. Then there's Carnival, and back in May, a whole year has gone, right? And in the last year, when we prepare for the next general election, we're going to lose that year again because everything seizes up in the ministry. We have said that over and over again. So pretty much we only have about 3 years, right? And what can you achieve in building a culture in 3 years? Man, it's going to be hard. So it's not that we are making it begin. But if we start the seeds, we plant the seeds, and we all nurture the seeds together, and we get all the key stakeholders, I think we can achieve something, because we have done it in the past.
We're going to lay the foundation. Our team here is going to make the greatest effort to help them. It's only if we get railroaded by those above, right? But we are going to make the greatest effort to help Toco Sangre Grande and any constituency that wants the help. But we're going to use Toco Sangre Grande as an example of what we're going to do and who wants to.
As a model, I say model. Yeah. Let's create a model constituency that others, because they are at the bottom of the barrel, that is already at the bottom. And I think with a little that we can get a lot that will be very visible to others. They will see the change because, like, again, when you have a full room of darkness, one flick of light, can be very impactful. And I really believe that there are people still in that constituency that are willing to fold up their sleeves, put their hand to the till, and start getting out there to make some things happen. I'm very excited about that part. Having been involved in community work in the constituency, I'm very excited about that.
And you could feel it, right? So what I'm saying to you is we want to encourage the volunteerism. We want to engage the community there. We want to show the people how they can help. We want to identify, the avenues that they can help. Instead of, a lot of young people will be sitting there with a degree, and we have young children could use help with homework. So it's all about all helping each other, and building your community together. So we want to encourage that kind of mentality and attitude so that we want to restructure, wherever you can create a homework center. You break it up in different parts of the constituency, whether it's a church or, I mean, I know some of these community centers are kind of dilapidated because neglected by the PNM, they're really, really supported and maintained. So, we know we have a challenge where we have to find space for 400 children, and that's at the primary school level. So, I
Yep.
have been saying a lot of time, I said it a lot of times, I believe in meeting people at their level and pulling them up, not condemning them, right? And so, what we have to do is we have to put that kind of support system wherever these children who miss school, wherever these adults who have not completed their education, we need to create a system where they can restart, and so that must be local, within your community range. People should not have to travel all the way to Port of Spain to work and then come and go and do a class. We need to fix the transit system. Yes, we need to, how to say, decentralize a lot of resources, government, things that you travel into Port of Spain, you should be able to get in Sandy Grande, right? You shouldn't have to go all the way to Port of Spain. Sandy Grande should be far enough. The furthest you have to travel in within the region at Toco Sandy Grande to get your governmental business done, whatever ministry or stuff like, you should not have to go to Port of Spain. So these are some of the things I had proposed, where we decentralize the government offices so that people can spend a lot less time, and we're reducing traffic, we're reducing pollution. In the meantime, we have to work on the infrastructure, yes, but we want to also decentralize. So these are some of the things I had proposed, and directly to the Prime Minister herself, and I mean, I said it in a few groups, but we intend, as long as the door is open to accept us as as part of the team, we will go all the way out, remotely and physically, because Dr. Ramrup is there, Sumant will be there soon. We have other guys on the ground. Me and Dr. Maharaj will be mostly here in the States, where when Dr. Maharaj come, I'm sure he will visit, and Dr. Maharaj is in the finance area, former policeman, right, Doc?
Yep.
And but anyway, Doc, as far as the law enforcement, things have changed a lot from when you were there. So the strategies, the things that need to be done, and what's being done, a lot is being done with our government right now that hasn't been properly disclosed yet and cannot be disclosed. But far as the community-based arrangement, we have to restructure our community to deal with crime. We have to engage our citizens to help themselves, and the police must recognize that structure where there is a civilian participation alongside the military and the police. The municipal police have to work along with our community there. We cannot afford arrogant people within our municipal police. That structure, that kind of attitude has to go out the window. And we definitely know that, I mean, the need for computers, the technology, and all this kind of thing there. But we have many ways of utilizing the resources. We have to build with what we want to get. So I mean, we have intellectual people. We just cannot connect any dots. We're not managing the resource that we have. Some kind of a hide and seek game has been played. Who's friend, and this kind of thing. So we are not here for that kind of nonsense. We want to bring all the resources, unleash it for the people to have the opportunity to build themselves, point them in a direction, give them the opportunity to choose which way they want to go, except for crime. That's the one we're not going to tolerate. So, Mr. Singh, Dr. Rambo, anybody?
Yes. So let me just. Right. Sorry.
Go ahead. I want to make a point just for a very short while before I forget. We talk about the need for that support from the government. Now, I want you guys to understand that while I am engaging in this conversation, part of that government that has to make the decision for my constituency would start through my member of parliament, Mr. Wayne Sturge. He's not part of this conversation, and so I want to make it quite clear that nothing that I may proffer would have any angle of completeness or a statement that can be considered policy position of the member of parliament or the constituency executive. And so I want to make that quite clear. These are my personal opinions, and the way it should go. We will still need to have his understanding and support. I appreciate that I will have some buddies behind my back, so to speak. And, it's just a matter of getting him to see the light like we are seeing the light, so that this could go right up to the top through a cabinet or parliament, enactment.
Well,
So I just wanted to make that quite clear.
Communication, he's included in that group, and and I have included governmental ministers in there so they could see part of the discussion. But yes, we all understand that. So we are just here to provide the necessary support and ideas. It's still up to the MP, and it's still up to the government and the Prime Minister to okay what they will allow and what they can support and the direction they want to go. That is still on them. We are just here to just like a think tank. I'm sure there are people within Tokusan and Grandi will have some ideas that they want.
And if I must suggest, when as in Tobago, if you have the opportunity to take a drive down to Castara Beach, you could meet with the president there.
I go there very often for the bonfire on a Thursday.
Correct.
It's one of my favorite spots.
The bakery and so on, you could get the bakery, the oven.
That's right.
So what you could do is meet with the president of the Fisher Folk Association, and he is in tune with the community-based, tourism projects there for Castara. Yeah. That's the model, the Castara model. So I would like you to get some idea about that, and we will explore that as an opportunity for about 7 or 8 districts or little towns in the Toko, Manzan, Grandi area.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you what I have that's even better. The lady who started this whole concept of community tourism and people engagement is my neighbor, a lady by the name of Karen Bart Alexander. She was an executive member of the COP during the incarnation of the partnership. She is well engaged. She understands the constituency. As a matter of fact, she has produced a booklet, Matura to Matla, identifying key tourist places, looking at the resources that is available. She has done the work, and she continues to do those work for the THA as we speak right now. So we do have, her. I spoke with her only recently, and she's willing to avail herself. I'll talk to Gary about maybe joining on the chat so that she can continue, share some of her ideas.
Karen was she was in one of those, back in the day we had the Yahoo group and email kind of thing.
Well,
but she's way back there,
Yeah, but if I may add, I was the director of tourism in Tobago, so I can tell you a lot of. I was the first economist in Tobago who worked with Mr. Robinson there to develop Tobago. So I go a long way back.
Okay.
1984.
Karen, my bad is picking up where Mr. Suman Singh left off, but you have the original man here.
Yeah, it's
good. I know she worked closely with Sadiq Bash. He was at her home only earlier this week.
Okay.
They're still very good friends. Yeah.
Yes. I go way back when the development of Tobago started, and I was the senior project analyst and then the director of tourism and director of IT and so on. So anything Tobago, you could tell me, refer to me, and I could give you the groundwork the
There
projects.
is a lot. There's a lot that I think the constituency of Toco Sangre Grande can learn from what has already happened in
Because
Tobago.
it shares the same, basically the same structure. When I say structure, community life, economic opportunities, sparsity. Basically, it's a catch-tail society. To put it bluntly, nothing is at the forefront. You are being, treated as a bastard child out of the development process. That's why there is no industries in Tobago. There is no industries in Tobago, right?
Yep.
So
But as a matter of fact, in addition to that, it's one people, right?
yeah,
I
90%
don't.
is a Afro.
Toconians are Tobagonians.
Huh?
Toconians are Tobagonians.
And Shallovillians are part of Grenadians as well. So
that's right. That's right.
I know the history because I work with a guy named J.D. Elder, who was from Charlottesville, and he gave me the whole history of Tobago. There were just 15 families who formed the entire region of Tobago. So if once anybody can give you their last name, their surname, they can tell you who was their father, grandfather, and like this.
Oh yes.
With a noted historian at Tobago, Charlottesville already.
So I could so let me just close off tonight then with a couple observations for Wayne and everybody else. So I started by asking what kind of industry you have, and I realized that you have a far way to go. So you also put a disclaimer in, and we're aware of that there are people above you who have to get the buy-in to whatever you may say or do or want to do. So let me just say two quick things about what you said in the past. You mentioned things like the people orientation. I agree with you 100%, except that we could talk about this another time. And except why did we get where we were? Such that dependency. We spoke on this program about that before, but that dependency is a direct output of people's national movement, backed by the fact that you happen to be sitting on black gold of oil because you happen to be Trinidad, and Trinidad has lots of gold oil, or we call it black gold, that the government decided to. Why do we have to work anyway? Just run the bread. So that's for another day. But here's the more important point I want to stick to, which is the finances. So yes, when surge is fine, you fine, okay, good. But I also wanted to focus on two things that maybe it will make sense or not, I don't know. But your local government should have, because I just said east of the lighthouse is the downtrodden areas, and your area, which I always see is a sleepy way out into the countryside, where you're going when I enter Sandy Grande heading north, I think I'm nearer to, like I said, I'm nearer to Tobago, Dominica, or somewhere else. So here's what I would, and you must have thought about it before. There's one way you can also have finances, because in the end it will boil down to money. I don't know if anybody ever mentioned, but is it possible Sandy Grande could have been made a borough? Because they seems to be growing for the past number of years. And because there are benefits of being a borough, which you are well aware of, so I don't want to go into that. But was there any conversation or any kind of thought come about to say, because you're all meeting in many times and you have different kinds of institutions, that NGOs that engage in conversations about your municipality, about your what we call it, regional corporation. Yes, regional corporation. So I don't know if there's if you ever anybody thought about making it a borough, and there's some advantages to get from, because I think it would be nice to have an Eastern borough, don't you think?
I love the sound of that. Again, these are wonderful ideas to present to our MP to be taken up in cabinet, certainly, why not?
Oh, okay.
So how you
Well,
like the
that's
think tank
we
so
look forward
far,
to hearing more about that.
Mr. Alonso? How you like the think tank along so far?
Huh?
I said, how you like the think tank so far? We moving?
Listen, you guys moving with speed, man.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, listen. A lot of it, things we will discuss with you, in a conference call. But because we don't want people to get ahead of what we're trying to do here and ambush us. But
But I'm not saying that in any way to think that we are physically speeding. I think I'm using speed to mean
no, no, I
that
understand that.
bonding of minds, the
Yeah,
bonding of minds and mindset. For example, every juncture that we make one wrongs, it opens up a whole new 2 hours of conversation. I mean, I'm ready to continue, but in all respect, I mean, I might be the youngest on the team here at 67, and I'm already tired. So I could imagine some of you guys might be ready for bed, but something someone touched on that just reignited my passion. That whole conversation of the dependency syndrome that the PNM has intentionally and deliberately incurred on the people in itself is another round of conversation. Maybe we
yeah,
should
yeah. We,
schedule and start there for the next
yeah,
meeting. Yeah,
yeah.
let's
Good.
examine that
Excellent.
because that could
Yeah.
be some foundational unearthing
Right.
of some
Correct.
of
Yep.
that psychosocial and mental issue that we need to start dealing with.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's a leech around the people neck, and we have to deal with that. But I think, as far as I'm observing our government, I seem them to be on the right track of direction. I mean, we are making suggestions to them. They're taking a lot into consideration because based on their decision making, I'm seeing that they have taken a lot of suggestions into consideration. So I think we're on good grounds. I know we're just getting started, but in the meantime, while the national government is working, I want our team to focus on prepping and presenting a plan of action so that the MP can take it to cabinet. He can consider, what he wants and what he doesn't want there. Hold on a second. I see somebody else. Let's see who this is. Somebody. No, private chat. Okay. Yeah. So
I
these are the
think
things that.
I think the thought would be, how do we utilize the different aspect of this development
Well,
proposal.
our
And
Okay.
guys here will help us put that in pen and paper together with yourself, and we will have a draft plan of recommendation. It will be itemized,
yeah,
and then they
Okay.
will go and say, well, we can do this, or we can do this. We can do this in 1 year. We can do this one in 2 years. Things like that. Listen, the government made some plans and promises. Doesn't mean that it was going to be way with a magic wand, right? Doesn't mean also, I want people to understand that it doesn't mean that they're going back on their promises or they lied, right? We have a lot of things to put in place in order to get to that point of delivering those promises. But there are things like you and I can do to help support that course of action. This is where I see it. I don't need an official position anywhere to support government going forward and development plans. Nobody has to pay me to do this. This is something I'm passionate about. You know, so if so if anybody's threatened that we want a board position or something like that, and we try to compete against some of their friends, we are not there in that. We are here to support our country, our people. I got engaged with the Tokosani Grandi people because there's certain people that that I got connected with, and they brought certain things to my attention, and I felt that I should do something about that. And this, I mean, winning the election was an objective that I figured that we needed to do in order to get these goals achieved. I mean, I saw too much suffering. I said I had to do something about that.
But
You know,
Gary, I would like to nominate Dr. Maraj for a board position.
Me?
Dr.
Me?
Maraj,
Yeah, remember he said a couple of days ago, you don't have to be a UNC supporter once you have the competency, you know.
Yeah.
Well, he's a strong UNC supporter.
I remember you saying that, Dr.
Yeah, so,
I have a double whammy. I will both.
So listen, those board positions for a lot of people already have in mind, and they have their people. I don't care about that. What I care about here.
But that's what Dr. Maraj said. That could be a downfall too.
Getting the country. Listen, I'm not going to interfere with the internal party politics. I am here.
But one thing, if I may
share my views and to do whatever I can to help.
Gary, if I may share something, and this goes to Wayne as well. If you can see, the government has identified 15 goals or what's called growth poles for development of Trinidad and Tobago. See if any of the growth poles fall into that area, your Tocumans and Grande area. And that will be a good starting point, because when your minister approaches cabinet for approval on something or anything, it must fit in to one of those growth poles. That means it will get, clearance faster, approvals faster, because that has a growth pole. It's a national development plan. So if you can see from the growth poles, if any is assigned to your area, your community or so, and that will give us a lot of flexibility on how to proceed.
Well, I'm also focused on, Mr. Singh, on helping ourselves in what we can legally do to engage, whether it's NGOs, the local community people, and how we bring those and connect it together to work for Tokusani Grande, right? That is, so what I'm saying to you, we cannot go back there. We're talking about dependency syndrome. So I have no intention of being totally dependent, right? In that I figure that in my mind, I figure that we can bring certain things together to formulate a plan of action and get some things going. We know that we need the funding from the government. We know we will need approvals, whether it's plans and certain things like that. But at the same time, putting together resources, I think we can do some things to help ourselves. And that is where I'm shooting at. We can reach out to certain resources and engage them.
Yeah, but
approvals will be needed to government for when it comes to planning and certain governmental
authorizations. No, I was not going along that line, Gary. What I was going along is that government has laid out its development.
No, I understand that. No, what I'm saying to you is, I don't want to be in a position where I'm waiting on the government. I don't have time for that. I want us to do certain things to help ourselves and tell the government, this is what we have. This is what we bring to the table.
This is exactly what I'm saying. So if what you need, if it falls into what the government plan is for that area, your chances of getting approval is much more faster. You can be expedited.
Well, I would like to add to the plan. If they didn't have any plan, I want to add it to the plan.
Well, see the 15. No, they have identified 15.
Well, I could add one more then.
No, it may already be. It may already be in the one of the growth poles.
Because I know for a fact how much role I played in getting that constituency. So
while you all doing that, just keep in mind, and I wanted to say this, but I jump back in here because the budget is coming up, and there'll be 5 budgets and even some in between. You want to have priorities for the first year, for the second year, for the third year, for all 5 years of the government and even beyond. So some of those growth poles that you're referring to might be a 2-year, 3-year project. You have that in the background, but the immediate ones to hit the budget immediately, you need to identify those and get your conversation in so that they get your like Gary is saying, getting ahead, being anticipatory rather than reactive. Be proactive, getting and this will go for Alfonso as well, Wayne.
We're not limiting
That
ourselves
you
here.
need to get your priorities early up front on this budget coming. You know what those are? Those will be the short-term things, and then there are longer-term things. Like if you want to build infrastructure, it might take a little longer. But if you want some immediate things could happen within the next few months, you want to get that into your budget
Exactly.
ASAP. And I'm sure Wayne
Exactly.
Surge and all these guys are aware of these kinds of things because they have a meeting and they discuss these things. So in our part also, Gary, you want to identify what our immediate
What we're doing,
suggestion would be for things in the budget coming, in the coming budget, and then beyond.
Yeah, we want to assist the MP. Remember, the MP has he has the MP position. Then he's Minister of Defense, so he has a lot doing. So we have to make it as easy as possible for him to help get things off the ground. All right, so we agree on that, right?
I just wanted to add something because I think that this one is something that we could do. Gary, you see, you said that you wanted to get a plan, right? Which is easy. I think what we have to understand too is that we have
Doc, between you and Suman, you can help arrange
yeah.
to satisfy.
Yeah. What I'm suggesting though is this is important. I think that what we can do is Wayne is in the constituency, and if one of the things that we want to do is that we would like. Remember, I talked about getting the community to buy in, right? Facilitate the process. So my suggestion would be if we could identify champions within the constituency, young people who may be like university graduates, young persons who might be interested in economics, social work. Identify persons who may be in church groups, sports groups, right, who will be willing to come on board. And what we can do then is to use this team, right? Give them the documents, right, that are required. For example, the growth poles, we can give them the planning, the spatial plan, and then any other documents that are necessary. Let them sit down with it, let them look at it, and let us meet with them. So the plan that we would have would be really to facilitate the engagement of the key stakeholders within the municipality. And I think that if the constituency, and if we were to find, because this is what we would need, because these are the persons we would want to teach, we would want to, have
they
learning.
Will lead the project. They will lead whatever project is going.
So we will be, the plan that we should have basically would be to facilitate, right? Because the work has been done already, as I said. We just need to
provide some guidance with them, engage them.
Right. So we don't want. Okay. The thing is, our plan is not that we are going to be doing ABCD. Our plan is that we want to facilitate the team that exists within the constituency to do ABCD, right? And I think that is the philosophy. So that it doesn't, we don't have to go and draft up an executive summary and write a big 25-page document about what we would like to do. I think what we need to do right away is that within the next few weeks or months, right? Or even weeks, sorry, if Wayne can organize or mobilize, find out the MP would have people visiting him, looking for jobs. We would have young graduates from university who are looking for jobs, etc. People who might have jobs, right? Young, insurance agents, maybe young police officers who might be interested. I'm saying, so we can have a team of persons. So when we have our first community workshop in a village council or a church or a school or something, we would have an existing audience, right? And these would be the young, or it doesn't have to be young alone. Of course, it could be a mix, of older persons in the community, younger persons, eager persons, etc., etc. Some of them might be politically affiliated or other other persons. Doesn't necessarily have to be UNC members. And I think that when we can get that, we can begin now to engage them, right? Show them, okay, this is the plan. Let us do a typical facilitation workshop, or a couple of workshops. Some can be done virtually, of course, so we don't have to go into the area, very often. And this will be the methodology to roll out, right, the spatial plans. What we would need to do really is to find the elements of that plan that are specific for the Toco Sangre Grande area, all right, and of course align it to the growth goals, align it to any regional or global policy that is contemporary, all right, and engage this on, because these would be the people, right, that we would be working with, and they can now engage other persons. They will become like our, when we teach the
ambassadors. They are the ambassadors of people.
So we're going to teach these persons to teach everybody, learn the learners, and
train the trainers, so to speak.
I had somewhat of a conversation there with Wayne on this already. He said he had a good size conference room at the constituency.
And don't forget to get one or two men.
Let me throw out an idea that I think is immediate. I think it will give some sense of value to what we're trying to do and set the stage for where we can take this constituency. I could tell you right now, our records, we are close to 100 people within the 2 months that we've been sitting at that office that comes and requests a hamper. It was so bad last week, gentlemen, that 2 people, one said openly, "Sir, do you have at least a little bit of rice to give?" Luckily, I have 349 bags of rice remaining from a number of 450 I got through the NAMDEFCO agency last month, and about 10 bottles of rice, 1 liter bottles of oil, that is. And I said, "Well, are you going to take 2 bags of rice, 2 1 kg bags?" He said, "Yes, sir." I said, "What about some oil?" He said, "Yes, sir." And I gave it to him. 2 hours after, the same day, a young lady who I knew many years ago, she cooked for one of my fundraisers some years ago. She has a very nice property right there on the Toco Main Road, at that turn where you go to Valencia instead of going to Sangre Grande. Or if instead of going to Sangre Grande, if you're coming from Port of Spain, you just go straight across with what they call the Valencia Old Road, where all the quarries are. So just as you get to that intersection of Toco Main Road and the Valencia Old Road, you're looking at the right. That young lady lives there, 5.5 to 6 acres of land. And she came there begging for food. I say begging because she also took the 2 bags of rice and a bottle of oil. It was that bad. She got laid off her job. And so that's an immediate need. I have been trying in my limited way to do some begging myself. I spoke to Mr. Ali, who owns Old Mac in Couva. He assisted me with getting rice and some sardines when I was looking for food to help the people of Dominica. And then, having worked with the Living Waters people, I spoke to Jenny and she said, "Wayne, we don't help politics, but if you have an NGO that can assist by coming in and registering with us, we can pass the food through them." Only this week, I got someone from Valencia who just got their NGO approved, and I plan to take her down to Living Waters on Frederick Street to put in that request to be a recipient of their offerings every month. They gave these large sacks of dry goods, peas, flour, rice, sugar, some oil, some, canned foods, and that sort of thing. So, in my little space, I'm trying my best to see if we can offer a full hamper. I don't expect my MP to be leaving Port of Spain because somebody called for a hamper, but it is that bad, it is that needy. And so I am saying, hey, do you guys know any hardware that probably is, throwing away food that may be close to expiry but could still be used? There are people, beggars are not choosers. Then I have NAMDEFCO, who is saying, not NAMDEFCO, the agriculture people in El Reposo on Orupuch Road, I spoke to Mr. Sam, who is the supervisor of the field officers, and he said they have garden stuff also. They can offer us a lettuce, a pak choy, and some tomatoes, as the case may be. So, we want to give something substantial that someone can go home and cook a meal. And so that is what I would like to do in the immediate, to have a running list of recipients that can look to that we can offer some help. So I just threw that out there. If you guys looking for a quick project to get started, there's one.
All of this is very important. Dr. Rambo, can you engage some people from the Rotary Club to lend a hand with that? You hear Dr. Rambo? I don't know if you hear. Dr. Rambo, you hear me? I don't know if he's hearing me. Okay. Anyway, so if anyone is listening within our listening audience here, this is where we can use some help in Toko Shandigan. We need some immediate help, with food items. If you could donate it to the constituency office, definitely. Wayne, we don't need the MP to be involved with these things.
Not at all. Those are the things that he don't have to be involved. Those are the kind of community engagement I'm talking about.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's an all-inclusive plan of action. So we want to, probably, what you could, we could make a little flyer or something, Suman, in the sense that food items donation at the MP office. We have a food drive. I will share it around all our groups there, and can advertise it even on this program as much as possible. So we engage those who are outside the country also, in assisting, our people. But the area also has some farming areas there that we could try to get maybe Ministry of Agriculture to help with, helping people who have land and to grow some stuff that can go forward with that. But the immediate thing is the immediate food stuff. Suman?
Yeah, no, I'm listening, and I think I will have some stuff ready for Wayne by early next week.
You're getting down there anyway, so you and him will deal directly as you get there.
You know what is good also, that some of the very people who are asking, you know what they offered me? To volunteer, to pack out the rice and to pack out the dry goods. There was a guy who got the hamper the other day, and he went and purchased water and some soft drink, had them chilled, and then came to the consultation last week, Tuesday, and he served them. He had enough water and sodas that he was walking around the room, and I would say we probably had, I would say, close to 150 people in the community center that day. And he went around and offered people water and sodas. And he was a recipient of a hamper.
Once you can mobilize these people and get them to
work on creating a flyer, and you see the thing about, we want to make known the need. If people don't know, they can't help. So we want to advertise that as much as possible, that you have food items, please contact the MP office. And Wayne, you will have to give us the number for the MP office actually, so no people ain't calling your phone.
Yeah, I'll pass that on to you guys. I'll put it on the chat.
Can make up a flyer. I will share it around. Whether it's Wayne, your team, can make up a flyer. I know the MPs.
And we will put my phone number in addition to the office number, just in case people call off time. Yeah.
Put a note saying message, because sometimes you might be in a meeting, so we want people calling on your phone. So we will say WhatsApp a message.
No, I want to be careful also with sharing of flyers in the public space. Again, that might be something.
Yes,
that may need the approval of the MP. Yeah.
Correct.
Discuss with him. But with them all, we could do as much as we can. Suman, you might have some good ideas of who you can talk to on the ground there.
Yeah.
And Dr. Rambo, just reach out to whoever is in the Rotary, club and within your means of connection. if we can do something about this. Also, Wayne, we will contact the let's create a list. We will send it to the Minister of the People. Okay.
The Minister of
People, Social Development.
Okay.
Create that list, and I will kind of just kind of forward it.
Well, again, I want to caution in terms of the light. Yeah, the line of authority that it should go to the MP of the constituency first. Yeah, you don't want to skip him for him to hear about it in cabinet.
No. What I'm saying, go through him.
Yeah.
And he could also give it to her because he meets with her physically. But I mean, so you can bring it to his attention and give him the list. But I mean, she's very nice to respond to me when I reach out, on behalf of people. So that, and we also have a Minister of Community Development. At some point,
Get out and pack it out and and give it out. But if it is a government request, then we will have to go through the MP himself. If it's private private entities, I think there could be, it might be easier like that than going through the government.
The needs. What I would suggest though is the needs of the people in your constituency. Discuss it with the MP and give it to the Ministry of Social Development. Yeah. And he could follow up on that. We have people in need. They have been out there doing stuff. So I mean, they can't do if they don't know. So I would suggest we bring that to his attention whenever you meet with him. You could mention it to him about we want to identify the people that there's a need. It's something we want to identify so you can address it. Know what the issues are. And I mean, Ministry of Agriculture could help with some seedlings and plants and stuff like that to kind of get some things like tomatoes and them things grow quickly. Right? They say, guys, 3 months. 3 months, them thing comes up. All right, gentlemen. So I think we covered as much as we want to say tonight. Anything else you want to add, Wayne? You want to add anything?
Yeah. Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys.
I'm losing your volume there. I don't know. I'm not hearing your voice. But, Wayne, I'm not hearing you. I'm not hearing you.
Hearing me?
I'm now hearing you. We're going in and out. Okay, so go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I was just saying thanks for the support and the passion that I'm hearing to serve. I remember that day that I spoke to our MP long before the campaign started, when I went to him when he got selected, and I asked, he said to me, he's not sure he will win, but he will give it his best shot. And I said to him, you will win. He said to me, if I don't, the people that I have met in that constituency, I will find a way to return to help them. And that is what got me involved, because I heard from a man who had heart. He was intimately connected to the job at hand. And if I have to say anything about my MP, that is the story I give constantly. He's a man of heart. And when you have a man like that, I think he's very open to anything that will develop the people that he is responsible for. So I'm really happy for this group to share the ideas and to extend the thoughts, the thinking, the strategies, so that once we can formalize all this resource, which is the human capital that we bring to the table, I think we can come up with a solid plan for discussion and understand where it can start, continue, and end. So
But
I'm happy to be part of this conversation.
we could arrange. I know his time is very limited, but whenever he can give us a 5 minutes, it doesn't have to be long. But discuss with him what we planning to do. I mean, I have him in the group so you guys exchange words of information and discussion. But so listen,
You're
like I said,
breaking up.
I think this connection. Hold on. Let me take off this headset. Maybe it's called.
Okay, guys, I think I'll take a leave. It's
Yeah, you hear me? Are you hearing
3 o'clock.
me better?
Yeah, yeah, Gary.
Yes. So what I'm saying to you is, as like I told Wayne, I think God made this connection, with the candidate ourselves because we all thinking along the same line, and we just have to formulate a plan of action so that we can execute and make sure we get the service delivery towards the people on the ground there, helping them to help themselves. I mean, so there's multiple things to be done. The Ministry of Social Development has a role to play, which we need to source. The Ministry of Education, Ministry of Health. We also, we need to engage NGOs and everybody else that we can bring on board, who has an interest in helping the people and not just there to, for own game and gain. But, I mean, business people will come in for their own gain, but we can engage them to invest if we give them something reasonable to invest. Um, the plans about down the road about the port, something I would like to see because I think that would help tremendously by rerouting the tourism through Toco San Negrete instead of Port of Spain between Tobago and the inter-island connection. I think we could get that done. We could build the roads. We can, fix the infrastructure. We can help, with the agriculture. The people have the land, and let's give them the necessary supplies to cultivate and bring things forward so they can help themselves. So engaging and educating the people, giving them the resource to help themselves, is something that we want to encourage, and not be dependent on waiting. I know I hate this dependency and waiting on approval. I want to be self-sufficient. So to making Toco San Grande as much self-sufficient as possible is my game. I'm sure the MP will go along with that, also. So, I want to help put things together to make things a lot easier so we could deliver quickly to the people. I mean, there's no waiting here. There's a lot of people who need food, and this is something we need to get with immediate effect. Dr. Rambo, Suman, anybody?
Yeah, no, I agree with what we discussed today and the way forward. So I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. Well, Suman, you will be there physically soon, so and you could get together, Dr. Ram. Maybe one day you guys make a trip up there. But in the meantime, we're gonna do all the
Yeah,
remote conversation, the Zoom, this year, the conference call on WhatsApp we can do. And I'm always available. You guys know I'm always available and reachable. So my
yeah.
buddy,
But
I
if
want to
we were to do this
thank you very much.
often, what night would be best for the team? Would it be a Saturday night, a Sunday evening, early?
You mean like to have a group discussion?
Yeah, these kind of conversations.
Well, later was better for me because I go to sleep early, like 3 o'clock in the morning.
Okay.
So, so, so later, like in the night, will be good. These guys because Dr. Ramo has patients, someone has this thing to do. So 8, 9 o'clock in the evening will be good.
What about a Sunday? Because I'm thinking, we've been at this going on close to probably 4 hours, maybe. So it's midnight. So I'm thinking if we could probably do a Sunday evening, I don't know, 6 to
Sunday evening is
10.
good. Saturday
Um,
is good. Saturday is good. I mean, Sunday is good for me too. So depends on how you guys get the availability. Um, you know, so let's play by ear. Let me know what your availability is, and we want to keep the discussion going. Bring the people that you need, that who you think will be of value from the
Mhm.
constituency in the discussion. Maybe one day we could do something from your office if you have people there too.
yeah.
All right. So, do you want to discuss
Well,
it, MP?
Well, his availability, like I said, it's like looking for water from a rock.
No, no, I
I'm
know because I
hoping,
understand what he's dealing with. I understand what he's doing. So this is why I'm trying to provide him with as much support so that he meets the needs of the constituency, and not be overburdened by it because he has a heavy
yeah,
task of dealing with our national security issues. So I don't want to tie him up in nitty gritty stuff. Things that we can do. I want to put it together. I want to get it going. So this is how I'm
yeah.
thinking.
Well, that's what I said. Maybe the food is a good entry point for somebody who is serious about getting some things done. I think it's a good place because that is multifaceted. We have the group of think tankers, we have the business community, we have the recipient, and then we have the volunteers. I
Right.
think that model in itself speaks volume to other things that can happen going
Right.
forward. Yeah.
Right. So
So let's say, for example, we got some sacks of food. Maybe we can get some people from the Rotary to come and help us. Let them see Dr. Ramroop in the midst, with his hands, his sleeves folded up, bagging out some flour with, flour on his nose.
I don't know.
So
Maybe
he's
cook.
not Dr. Ramroop. He's
Listen,
he's a citizen wanting to
Maybe
help.
cooking some roti too.
listen,
All that, all
listen.
that. You see?
That's how we do it here in Miami, man. You have to roll
That's
up
the
your
kind of
sleeves.
energy that we need, going forward. No, nobody sitting in the high tower with the title intact. Title has only taken us this far
Yeah,
because people's
Dr.
blood is still flowing on the street.
Yeah,
Hmm?
Dr. Ram is a surgeon, a trauma surgeon, and a lot of things. Hey, Doc, you there? I don't know if he fall asleep now because he tired there. But
No, I'm here. It's just that the irony of it is that I have been doing that same thing for 40 years. So I have been
Oh,
rolling up
wonderful.
in
Folding up your sleeve, right?
communities all
Rolling
over
up your
Trinidad.
sleeve.
So what you're saying there is not nothing new to me. So
Wonderful.
I am a Rotarian. I don't know if you know what Rotary is, but I joined Rotary in
I
1985, and I'm a member of the San Fernando South Rotary Club. And every week
good.
we do medicals, right? Right now we are doing hampers for some people who have, they were affected. We just sent a child to get surgery. Last week we gave crutches. I went and we gave crutches to some people who needed crutches. So yeah, these things we know. And I am what we call a district governor, a past governor. I was in charge of all the Rotary clubs in the entire Caribbean between 2012 and 2013. So I am a senior
Okay.
in the Caribbean. Sangre Grande has a Rotary club there. All right. And this is
Yeah, I think ex-commissioner Paul, he's the chair of that. Trevor Paul.
Correct. I know Trevor. Trevor worked with me when I was the chairman of the Security, Safety, and Operations Committee of the Airports Authority Board. Trevor was the commissioner of police at the time, and I was chairing that at the airport. That's why I know Trevor. So anyway, as I said, as a past district governor, right, humanitarian service, and of course, as you know, I was the head of ODPM for 6 years. Humanitarian service has to fall under specific guidelines. All right, and a Rotary Club has what we call accountancy. It's very important, right, to be transparent, so that what we do is we will once your due diligence is done, and you have visited the homes of these people, and you have verified that they are indeed in need, right? Therefore, the Rotary Club of Sangre Grande can offer the assistance, because this is one of the things that they do under the community service. All I need to do is to call the president there, right, and ask for some assistance. Now, as I said, this is where Rotary is a little different to Kiwanis and other organizations. You see, sometimes it's not just about messing up your hand with the flour, but the ability to engage persons who can give that flour. And that sometimes has a greater strength, because it's like a piece of stick, When you take the stick and you turn the top of the water, all you get is little waves. But if you go down underneath, right, You understand what I'm talking about? You get a work
Yep.
crew. So you have to
Yep.
understand when you're dealing with humanitarian service, right? It falls under specific guidelines. All right. And there's something called the SPHERE booklet, SPHERE. The booklet, if you download it and you read it, it has a lot of things to do with humanitarian support. One of the things we try not to do, as I said, and we always keep that as a philosophy and a dogma. Yes, it's very important to give people things in need. But as I said, all our philosophy is very simple. We would prefer to give you a fish when you need it, but we would prefer to teach you to fish yourself. All right. So
Yeah.
again, when I do something on the Rotary, that's how I will do it. Okay. But definitely, I will be able to come and get my flour on my hand, and I could even make a roti, and I can cook some food because I love to cook. You just give me a little ocean view, and I have my rods. I will catch my fish in the meantime, and in the meantime, we'll package some bags, and I would love to come and get some of that nice fresh air in Tuku.
Wonderful.
So we all in agreement, right?
It's a deal. What I'll do is I'll talk to my Sangre Grande Rotarian friends, and as I said, they will be able to do some due diligence on their own. And once they verify that these persons who are helping are really in need of it, because we have a system that we use, then I'll be very happy to support. But if I find anyone in that group that is not worthy of it and is just there because they feel that they voted for us and they want to get back a return, that's not going to happen. Okay?
Yeah. Sure.
So we genuinely want to help people that's in need, and we're not going to tolerate anybody playing games with us. So we want to identify that. But Doc, thank you for that. I was about to ask if you had a connection there in Sangre Grande. So definitely you already addressed that.
They are. We work through what is called the assistant governors. We have a network of assistants that comes up very much when there are disasters. I am the chair of the regional disaster coordination team from Antigua in the north, right, to Aruba in the east, and to French Guiana in the west. I am the chairman of the disaster coordination committee for Rotary.
Okay, Mr. Alonso. Sounds good?
Yes, sir.
You got
Sounds
good people?
good. I think so.
Yes.
I think so. I look forward to us engaging again. Like I said, if we could put aside, I mean, 4 hours is a lot of time, but we need at least 4 hours, to really move this needle one step at a time. So I am suggesting, I like this Sunday because it's the downtime for me. It's when I'm, finished doing everything for the weekend. So 6 o'clock, yeah, I could do 6, I could do 7.
Starting from 7 will be better for me because I'm a little busy around 6. So
yeah,
7 o'clock going forward will be okay.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah, well,
right,
okay, guys.
I am usually in my arrow. I leave my arrow around 5-ish. So we could probably when I reach home, I could join. All right.
So you could join us about 8 o'clock or so, or 7 o'clock.
Yeah. By the time I reach in and settle in and think I can join. The Sundays are okay for me unless, as you know, I'm doing some work in Canada, which I'm wrapping up at the end of the month. So I tend to go to Canada for 2 weeks, just to complete that consultancy that I'm doing up there. And it's finishing very soon, right? So once I finish with that, I'll have some more time to spend in TT. But right now, I have to finish it off, We have we have about 142 in skeletal remains from the indigenous children that they found in graves in some of the schools. So I'm helping them to identify, target, and get it ready for DNA mitochondrial analysis to try to find out where they came from. That was a big tragedy in Canada, and I'm working with a Rotary Club of Toronto and some of the consultancy firm in Montreal. So I'm just finishing up that, and then I'll be back in end of the month.
Wonderful.
All right.
Okay, guys. I look forward to our next meeting.
Right, and also any kind of developments, the channel is available. Anything that's happening, you guys, it's available to you guys. All right.
Okay. Thanks, Gary.
All right, we'll talk.
All right. Take care, everybody.
All right. Have a good night,
everybody. Thank you,
guys.
everybody.
Everybody.
Good night. Bye.
Okay.
All right. Good night, everybody.